Welcome to this tutorial, migrating from Windows to Ubuntu. The intention of this tutorial is not to go in depth into the workings of Ubuntu. Rather, it's a really brief overview. I'm going to keep the terms as simple can be. Hopefully I'm not guilty of oversimplifying. Now, as you go through this tutorial, be free to, if you miss something or something's not quite clear, to stop the video, go back to this section and redo it. There are 5 sections to this tutorial, and each they're about 10 minutes apiece. So I've modularized it to help you along. So session 1 deals with the login screen. Section 2, the desktop. Section 3, running your programs. Section 4, installing and uninstalling your programs. And Section 5 will deal with the sessions indicator, which basically looks after your hardware settings and your log off or your computer shutdown. So with that said, let's start with session 1. When Ubuntu first starts up, it takes you directly to the login screen, and that's the screen that you see in front of you. And you'll notice that there's a top bar up here, and there are certain features that you can use right before you log in. The first one is this accessibility button here, and if you click on that, you get 3 options, and we'll go through them one by one. The on-screen keyboard displays a keyboard, which if you click onto it, it prints out to the screen. What the purpose of that is, I'm not quite sure. I'm just going to back to password. But if there's a problem with your manual keyboard, well, you can use the screen keyboard. And we're going to look at the high contrast, and in the high contrast, you don't see too much of it on the login menu, but what it does is sets up the contrast a little higher for those who are visually impaired. And for those that are seriously visually impaired, we have a screen reader. This function here, the computer reads what's on the screen.
Welcome to login screen frame. Menu. On-screen keyboard check menu item not checked. Icon.
So that's an example of how that screen reader works. Now, for most, you'll only have one language, so you'll just see it like in this case here, it's keyboard English. But let's say you had French and German, and you wanted to shift between those keyboards. You would click on here, and you'd have your English and your other languages up underneath, and you just click on the language of your preference. If you wish to change the volume, you come over to this icon here and click on that, and you see the slider bar. By moving the slider bar, it changes the intensity of the volume. And of course you have your time over here, but if you click on your time, it gives you a calendar. And over here on this final icon on this top bar, there's 2 options to either suspend or shut down the computer. If you choose shut down, it gives you 3 options, whether you want to restart your computer, cancel, or shut down. In this case, we'll just cancel. So that's the login screen in a nutshell. So basically, the login screen allows you to update your keyboard language, volume intensity, and enable and disable accessibility settings before you log in to your desktop. So that's about it. In part 2, we're going to get into the desktop itself, and we'll talk about a couple features that you can use on the desktop. Now in session 2, the desktop. And when you look at the desktop, you can see some similarities between some of the other operating systems, such as Windows and the Mac OS X operating system. What they all have in common is that they're what in the technical world is called the GUI, G-U-I-E, Graphical User Interface. So it's basically all these operating systems are based on visual. So it helps the user. It's not like the old days when you had to do things through the command prompt. Guess I'm giving my age away there. But what we're going to do with the desktop, we're going to look at the three parts. The menu bar, which is located at the top of the desktop on the left-hand side of the window, or of the desktop, is the launch bar, where there are programs that you can run from that bar. And we'll look at the desktop itself, which is really just a work area.
Ubuntu uses Unity as the default desktop environment. After logging into Ubuntu, which I've just done, you will see the Unity desktop. This initial view is comprised of the desktop background and two bars. A horizontal one located at the top is called the menu bar, and the vertically oriented bar at the far left is called the launcher. Over along this side here on the left hand side, these are your indicators. Depending on what system you have, you may have others there, and there may be some minusing. On this one here, I have a message indicator, a Bluetooth indicator, my network indicator, my sound indicator, my clock indicator, my user indicator, and my session indicator. And I'll just highlight these just so you can see what the submenus look like. Now on the right hand side, you have the application, and just by hovering your mouse pointer over the menu bar, these will show up. And here you have your file, edit, view, go, and help. And once again, I'll click onto that so you can see the submenus. Now right here is the desktop background. So below the menu bar at the top of the screen, an image covering the entire desktop. This is the default desktop background or wallpaper. This particular one is called Ambience. With Ubuntu Unity, the desktop is generally not used to store application icons and shortcuts as the corresponding sections of other operating systems might. Rather, the desktop is really the workspace and the backdrop. And for those who have used Windows, you know that you can on your desktop you can have applications, files, and whatnot onto that. Ubuntu, I mean, you can do it with Ubuntu, but it kind of defeats the purpose. The launcher provides easy access to applications, mounted device, and the thrash. All running applications on your system will place an icon in the launcher while the application is running. To run an application from the launcher, just click on the application's icon. So for instance here, we'll click on LibreOffice Calc, which is a spreadsheet. And so that program is now running. Now I can come up here, back to the applications menu, and click onto it and close it. If I want to remove that, I just unlock from launcher, and it's now gone. You can add an application to the launcher bar, and we'll click onto that, and we just lock the launcher. And we can also move it, and I can shut this one down. So this is a quick rundown. Besides the launcher, there are other ways to run your applications, but I will be talking about that in session 3. Summarize what we've covered. To summarize, this top bar is the menu bar. To the right is the indicators. To the left is the application menus. The vertical bar is your launch bar, where you can run your programs from. This center here is the desktop background or wallpaper.
Welcome to Session 3, Running Your Programs. In this session I will show you how to run your programs or applications. Those terms are used interchangeably. The first way will be through the launcher, which is that vertical bar on the left hand side of your desktop, or through Dash. There are two examples that I'm going to use to show you how to run your programs. One is Firefox, the internet browser, and the other is LibreOffice, which is similar to Microsoft's Office Word. Knowing how to run both of these programs will get you up and running. And like I say, there are other places that you can run programs, but it all works the same.
As previously mentioned, there are two ways to run your programs or start your programs. The first method is programs that are already loaded on the launch bar, which is this vertical bar located on the left hand side of your desktop. The other way is through the Dash home. So those are the two ways that you can access your programs. For starters, we're going to start with the web browser Firefox, and if you've used Internet Explorer, Chrome, or any of the other web browsers, they all work the same basically. So we're going to click on this here, and there's our web browser. So as you've done before, if you want to search something, I'm using the Google search engine. I'm just going to type in Gmail, and there we are. We're on the wide world web, and sign in. And since I'm not logged in, I get this sign-in screen. We'll search for something else. My own personal site, JFoast. Click in. Okay, there it comes up on the search engine, #1 position. I like that. And here's my site. So that's basically it with the browser, and I'm making an assumption that you're already familiar on how to use browser, so I'm not going to dwell too much into this here. And if you wish to undock this, you can pull it off and move it all around. So we're going to shut this down, and it's now done. Another program I'm going to show you, and from that you can borrow a lot of the concepts and use it in other programs. But I'm going to start with LibreOffice Writer, which is very closely resembles Microsoft Word. So I'm going to start it, and there it is. And if I still have some text, I don't have text to put into that, so I'm just going to, I am going to write something, because my spelling is atrocious, for this demonstration. I don't know how bad I kill that. But anyway, so we've got a little bit of data there. I could have a full page there. So now you want to save it. Now, if you go to Files and left click on your mouse button to open up that menu, if you just go to Save, it'll save it as the default ODF. That I don't recommend to do, because especially if you're sending it to someone, because you don't know what word processor the other person is using. The safe bet is to go to Save As. And now I've got to reduce this window here. There's some. Like on your computer, it's going to be a full screen, so you won't have to do this here to get to see all of the box. So I'm going to click on File Type. And what I'm looking for is that I want to save it as a Word document. So I'm going to scroll down through here, and I found Microsoft Word 2007 2010 XML as a DOCX document. Well, that's a Word document. So if you save it in that format, you'll be quite safe that the receiver will be able to open that document. or you can go down and find the other Microsoft Word 97 2000 XP 2003 and save it as a DOC document. Once again, you can be quite confident that the receiver will be able to open up your document. So I'm going to give this a name. I'm just going to call it Test 01. And I'm going to click on, for this example, I'm going to click on Microsoft Word 2010 XML. And I've got to move this over to find my save button, and there it is. Now, right before I do the save, you'll notice that it says, my root directory is on documents, and this is where it's going to save the file, and it's going to be in this document. So now I click on Save, and this window comes up, and again it asks me what I want to do, and I want it in the Word format, so I click onto this here. So it's now saved it as text 01 docx. I can see that right up here. Now, I've got to mention here that a nice feature of LibreOffice Writer is that you can export your file as a PDF file as well. And the PDF stands for Portable Document File Format. So I'm going to save this as a PDF. So you go down to Export as PDF. Click on that, and that's right click or left mouse click on that, and same thing, left click mouse on export, and select which types that are shown. We click on that. Now again, my screen is reduced for this example, so I've got to kind of reduce it so I can see so I can get to the save function. I know it's there. There it is. Like I say, on your computer it's going to be on full size, so you'll see this. You won't have to do what I have done, move things around to get to the save button. So now this is saved as a PDF. Now we can verify this by going to the home folder. Now the home folder is in your own directory, and here it is, Documents. So we'll left click on Documents, and you see the two files that we saved. So this is pretty straightforward. So I'm just going to shut this down, and we don't need this anymore, so I'm going to shut this down. So we're back to our desktop. Now the second way that you can run your programs is through Dash. And Dash is very, very familiar to the Start programs on Windows. So we're going to click on this here, the Dash button, and what you see are recent. They call it apps, but an app's in a program. They're synonymous. They mean the same thing. That could be recent programs or recent apps. And it tells you that there's 3 more results here. So we'll click on that, and it shows you the some of the other things. Now, to find your programs, it's this search is very powerful. Let's say I just do CH. Well, there's a chess program, character, and system test. So anything that has a C and an H into it, it pulls it out. To make life a little easier for you. We'll erase that out. Go back to our original page, and you can see our recent document. Now here you have what's called the lens, and this is kind of helpful because it categorizes your files. Here's what's in your home folders, which is this here, and if you wanted another application, you click into here, and this is This is how you can access all of your applications. I mean, here it says what's installed. There's 83 more programs that are here. So if I click onto that, you can scroll down and see all the installed programs that you have. I'm going to reduce that, see fewer results. Now this is, I think, the documents. This is your folders, and here's our document folder. I click on that, and it's our saved file. So click back out of this here, open this up. If you had any music stored on your computer, this is one you would click. Or if you had videos on your computer, this is one you'd click. So this lens bar is very, very handy for finding programs. Last example, I'm going to run a text editor. I'm just going to click on that, and this is the text editor, and this is the default width. So I can, type, I should be looking at my keyboard. Type something here. So that's just a type, but that's just a, and again, if I wish to save it, it asks me, my documents folders where I would save it. So you can see that, to save files, it's pretty well the same for every one of them. So that wraps this part out. In section 4, I'm going to dwell a little bit more into the installing and uninstalling programs. Ubuntu has a plethora of free programs that you can install on your machine. That's one of the big pluses. So we'll just kind of review what we just did. We covered running programs from the launch bar and running programs from the dash. Now keep in mind that I'm keeping things very, very, very basics, and I may have oversimplified it, but the whole intention is to be able to get you to migrate from Windows to Ubuntu, and as you use Ubuntu, you'll gain more expertise.
Welcome to session 4. Installing and uninstalling your programs. Well, you've made it this far. One of the nice things about Ubuntu is the plethora of free software that is available. For instance, with a Mac or Windows, if you want some software, you got to go to your local technology store and shop around. You find the software that you want, and you go to the checkout and you pay X numbers of dollars, plus the HST and all those things. So it becomes kind of an expensive venture. But with Ubuntu, using the Ubuntu Software Center, you can access open source free software. And I'm going to show you how that can be done. And like I say, there's an abundance of software that's available. For instance, this is a default by Ubuntu. It's already loaded on Ubuntu when you install Ubuntu. Is a LibreOffice suite, which is very close to the Microsoft Microsoft Office software. If you want something like Photoshop, you go to the Ubuntu Software Center and type in GIMP, and you'll download a software that's similar to Photoshop. So there's a lot of software, and I'm going to show you how to get the software, and I'm also going to show you how to uninstall. Now remember, in all of these sessions, if you get hung up anywhere, you can stop the video, go back to a previous session, and run through it. This is a work at your pace tutorial. So on with uninstalling and installing programs.
In this session, I'm going to show you how to install and uninstall programs using Ubuntu. Now there are several ways that can be accomplished, but the intent of this tutorial is for those who are just migrating from Windows to Ubuntu. So I'm going to keep it as simple as possible, so I'm not going to talk about the more complicated ways that you can get programs for Ubuntu. We're going to use the Ubuntu Service Center, or excuse me, Ubuntu Software Center, and of course that's located right on this icon. Think of the Ubuntu Software Center as a store to access programs. Rather than going to your local technical shop to buy your programs, you just come to this software center. And we'll click on that, and it will open up the store, as I would call it. And just to point out these icons up top here is all software, and we scroll down, and it says there's 43,000 items available. Some of these programs you have to pay, and there's price range. These ones here that we're looking at, $2.99, but there's a lot of free ones as well. We go down. Parted partition editor, free. Genie. So so there's a lot of software that's available for you. It's definitely a lot cheaper to run Ubuntu. Now, if you go to the installed, this tells you what has been already installed in your program. If you're not quite sure what you have for games, you take a look and we see that games that have already been installed in Ubuntu is Free Cell, Solitary Mind, Sudoku, and so on. And it's the same for any of these other categories. Of course, your history tells you what's been installed. From a historical perspective, we're going to go back to all software. Now, let's say you're a gamer and you want games to download. Well, you just come down in these categories and we go to games, and we click on games, and then there's other categories. If you're a card person, you kind of click on that, and it gives you all the card games that's available for download. We'll just back that up on this little arrow here. So you have your top rated games. It's all there. Board games. Click on board game, and all your kinds of board games are listed, and those are the ones that are available for download. Now you can also do a search. Let's say I want chess. So I go over to this search bar and I type in chess. And here's a series of chess games, different configurations. So you get a choice. So I'm just going to install this one chess game here, and of course let's play the classic two-player board game of chess. More info, and gives you a little screen icon. And of course there's other games that are available, like three-dimensional chess, or so to first start, we're going to install this game, chess. So I click on chess, but before I can proceed, I have to authenticate, and that's a safety security of Ubuntu. No software can be loaded on your computer without you authenticating it. So I'll authenticate, and we have our little progress indicator here, and so chess is now being loaded. Now, on a Windows machine, chances are you'd have to go to a technology store and buy that game. So again, it's one of those things that Ubuntu is a lot cheaper in the long run. So that chess is now is now installed. And we'll check on installed, and we'll go to games. And there it is right here, the chess game. So we'll go back to all software. And let's say that I want to remove a piece of software. We'll use chess again. Chess. And so we click on this, and instead of install, it has remove. So if I click on remove, the progress is there, and it's now gone. If I come back to the install games, you see that chess is no longer there because it's been removed. Installing and removing programs in a nutshell. It's not too difficult to do. You may have to practice around. Remember, you can't hurt the operating system.
We finally made it to session 5. In this session I'll be showing you the sessions indicator. And the session indicator, you can think of it like the control panel in Windows. It's similar but not identical. In the session indicator, that's where you can change your hardware settings, and you can log off. And you can do something like change the background of your desktop. So we'll do this one quickly. Well, we finally made it to session 5. In this session I'm going to show you the settings for your computer, and that's located in the sessions indicator, which is right here in the upper right corner of your menu bar of the desktop. So we're going to click on this here, and you can see that there's system settings, display, startup, application updates available, printers, lockout screen, logout, suspend, and shut down. When you shut down Ubuntu, you'll always come, for example, if you're going to shut down Ubuntu, you would always come to the session indicator and come down to shut down and click on that, and it'll give you 3 options. Do you wish to restart, cancel, or shut down? Because we're not going to end the session, I'm going to cancel. And another thing I'm going to kind of go over quite quickly is the system settings. This is somewhat like the Windows control panel. So you can see you have your personal appearance, hardware, and your system. This is where you can do all your settings. For this example, I'm just going to change the backdrop, that boring old orange. I'm going to put something a little bit more interesting. I'm going to click on this image and close out of this, and you can see my background has been changed. Now you can download photos, or you can put photos of Fido the dog as your background. Ubuntu allows you to do that. And we'll come back up here because I'm going to put it back to its original settings. Back to appearance and ambience, and we click out of that. So just to recap, when you're going to shut down Ubuntu, you must come to the session indicator, click onto that, and do the proper shutdown. Here you can I'm just going to touch onto this here. Here you can change your password if you wish to do so. I just threw that in there just as a last minute thing. I want to click out of that. So that sums up pretty well everything there is to know for migrating from Windows to Ubuntu. I did go over everything quite quickly, and I kept things as basic as I can. So hopefully I haven't lost you. And
You can review this tutorial in its entirety, or go to the sections independently. So that concludes migrating from Windows to Ubuntu.